If you are hearing these words, pause for a moment. Not because this message is dramatic, but because something in you already recognizes it. There are women who walk through this world carrying a presence that cannot be explained by beauty, intelligence, or success. Their power is quieter, older, and far more unsettling. Carl Jung believed such women carry a psychological force rooted in the deepest layers of the unconscious, a force that can heal, disturb, awaken, and even destroy, especially if it remains unconscious. This message is not for everyone. Most people will listen and feel nothing. But if something tightens in your chest, if your body reacts before your mind does, it may be because this message is touching a truth you have lived without language. Jung understood that certain women embody archetypal energy that predates modern identity. Their power does not announce itself. It does not demand attention, yet it bends the emotional atmosphere around them. They can enter a room without speaking, without performing, without trying, and still shift the field. People feel watched, drawn, unsettled, inspired, or strangely exposed in their presence. This is not charisma in the social sense. Jung would say this is unconscious projection. When a woman carries intense inner energy, others instinctively project their fantasies, fears, desires, and unresolved wounds onto her. She becomes a screen for the collective unconscious. To some, she feels like salvation. To others, like danger. And to many, like a mystery they cannot explain but cannot forget. This is why such women are rarely perceived clearly. They are idealized or demonized, adored or resented, followed or attacked, but seldom truly known. Jung warned that embodying archetypal energy can feel like wearing a crown that is also a cage. When people encounter the archetype rather than the individual, they respond to the symbol, not the human being. This creates a life filled with attention, yet starved of genuine understanding. Many women with this kind of power grow up feeling fundamentally different without knowing why, sensing that they are seen but not met, admired but not understood. This paradox shapes everything that follows. One of the earliest signs appears as a strange tension between connection and solitude. These women often attract people effortlessly. Friends, lovers, seekers, wounded souls drawn to their depth, and yet internally they experience a profound sense of aloneness. Jung described the archetype of the wise woman as both sought after and set apart. Her insight draws others in, but her clarity makes true intimacy rare. She sees beneath masks, senses emotional currents, and recognizes unspoken truths. This depth makes superficial connection feel unbearable, yet it also makes others uneasy. People feel exposed around her, even when she says nothing. As a result, many relationships hover at the surface, unable or unwilling to descend into the depth where she lives. This solitude is not a flaw. It is the soil where her power grows. In solitude, she communes with dreams, symbols, inner images, and intuitions that others ignore. Jung believed the unconscious speaks most clearly in silence. But the cost is real. Loneliness can appear even in partnership. Being deeply seen by others becomes rare, while seeing deeply becomes unavoidable. This imbalance sharpens her inner perception and leads to one of the most dangerous gifts Jung ever described: intuition. For women with rare spiritual power, intuition is not a hunch or a passing feeling. It is a mode of perception. Jung defined intuition as perception through the unconscious, a way of knowing without linear reasoning. These women sense shifts before they occur. They feel deception before evidence appears. They recognize emotional truth behind polite words. Their nervous system reads what others suppress. To the outside world, this can appear uncanny, even threatening. To them, it feels natural, like breathing. Yet this gift carries a heavy burden. Intuition reveals truths people are not ready to face. When such a woman speaks what she knows, she risks being dismissed, mocked, or feared. History is filled with women labeled dangerous for seeing too much, too soon. Jung understood that societies often punish those who expose unconscious material before the collective is ready to integrate it. This intuition can also wound the woman herself. To constantly sense betrayal, emotional dishonesty, or impending change is exhausting. It is like walking without a blindfold in a world that depends on illusion to function. Over time, this sensitivity can turn inward, leading to self-doubt or withdrawal if not consciously integrated. Jung warned that intuition without grounding can overwhelm the psyche, which is why many such women experience cycles of emotional intensity that others cannot understand. Another sign emerges in how these women affect others. Jung believed that light inevitably attracts shadow. The brighter the flame, the stronger the reaction it provokes. Women with deep spiritual power often act as unconscious mirrors. They do not just reflect beauty or goodness. They reflect what others refuse to see in themselves. Their presence can awaken envy, resentment, insecurity, or longing without a single word being spoken. This is why they are often loved and hated with equal intensity. Some people feel inexplicably threatened by them. Gossip forms. Hostility appears without cause. Attempts to diminish, control, or discredit them arise. This is not because the woman is doing anything wrong. It is because she has activated material in others that they have not integrated. At the same time, this mirror effect is what makes these women natural healers. Not because they fix others, but because their presence forces truth to surface. Growth cannot occur without confrontation with the shadow. Jung believed individuation, the process of becoming whole, requires facing what has been denied. Women with this power catalyze that process in others simply by existing authentically. But this role is exhausting. Carrying others' projections, shadows, and expectations can drain even the strongest psyche if boundaries are not consciously developed. Perhaps the most misunderstood sign is the way these women hold both light and darkness. Jung's central insight was that wholeness is born from the union of opposites. Women with rare spiritual power are not innocent or naive. They have walked through loss, betrayal, grief, and inner collapse. They have been broken and reassembled. This is why their presence feels simultaneously comforting and unsettling. Their eyes often carry tenderness and fire at once. They do not deny pain, nor are they consumed by it. They transform it. Their scars become wisdom rather than wounds. People feel deeply seen in their presence, not judged, but revealed. This is unsettling in a world built on performance. These women do not pretend to be perfect. They do not hide their complexity. They embody contradiction, and that authenticity creates resonance. Others feel permitted to be real, even as they feel unable to hide. Jung believed this integration of light and shadow is what gives a person psychological authority. It cannot be faked. It can only be earned through confrontation with the self. At the core of this power is an inner voice that refuses to be silenced. Jung referred to this as the voice of the self, the deepest organizing center of the psyche. For these women, this voice is louder than social conditioning, louder than fear, louder than the promise of comfort. It urges them to leave relationships that suffocate them, even when love remains. It demands authenticity over approval, truth over belonging. This makes them appear stubborn, rebellious, or difficult. In reality, they are loyal to something deeper than external validation. Jung warned that suppressing this inner voice is dangerous. When ignored, it does not disappear. It turns inward, manifesting as depression, anxiety, chaos, or self-destruction. Many women with spiritual power experience periods of emotional collapse, not because they are weak, but because they betrayed their own inner authority for too long. Honoring this voice is not optional. It is necessary for survival. The final and most dangerous sign Jung warned about is the burden of transformation itself. Women with high spiritual energy are rarely meant for a quiet, comfortable life. They are forged through crises, loss, upheaval, betrayal, and repeated rebirth shape them. Jung believed such individuals are not merely living their own lives. They are instruments of psychological evolution. People who encounter them are rarely unchanged. Some feel healed. Others feel disturbed. Some feel inspired. Others feel exposed. But no one leaves untouched. This is the burden. To carry transformative energy means life will continue to demand growth. Comfort becomes rare. Stability is often temporary. These women are used by life to awaken others, whether they intend to or not. Jung warned that without conscious self-care, such women risk being consumed by the very fire they carry. Giving endlessly without replenishment leads to exhaustion, bitterness, or collapse. The work is not to dim their power, but to protect it. If you recognize yourself in even one of these patterns, Jung would say you are not ordinary, and that is not a compliment or a curse. It is a responsibility. The path of individuation is not easy. It isolates before it integrates. It demands courage before it grants meaning. But it leads to wholeness, depth, and a sense of purpose few ever touch. Your power is not here to destroy you. It is here to awaken you, and through you, to awaken others. The danger Jung warned about is not the power itself, but unconsciousness of it. When seen, integrated, and honored, this power becomes not a burden, but a calling.